Hello, I'm Bruce Matthews, Deputy Registrar at the Real Estate Council of Ontario. I'd like to take a few moments to discuss representation. As you may be aware, there's a distinction in REBA 2002 between a client versus a customer. The key difference is whether there's a representation agreement in place between the individual and the brokerage. A client is someone with whom the brokerage has entered into a representation agreement. A customer, on the other hand, is someone with whom the brokerage has entered into an agreement for services but has not signed a representation agreement. So what is a representation agreement? It's an agreement between a brokerage and a person that states that the brokerage will represent the person in respect of a trade in real estate. In representing the person, certain obligations are created, which I will discuss in a moment. While a representation agreement can be written, oral, or implied, the regulations under REBA 2002 require that any oral or implied agreement be reduced to writing. While a listing agreement is typically worded as a representation agreement, it is possible for both sellers and buyers to be either clients or customers. It all depends on the wording of the agreement between the individual and the brokerage. Your obligations to customers are different than your obligations to clients. The Code of Ethics requires you to deal fairly, honestly, and with integrity and provide conscientious service to clients and customers alike. However, where a client relationship exists, you have fiduciary obligations and you are required to promote and protect the best interests of your clients. A person may wish to remain a customer in situations where they need you to facilitate a real estate transaction, but he or she does not want any financial or fiduciary advice or protection during the course of the transaction. There are several details which must be included in all agreements with buyers and sellers. The effective dates for the start and end of the agreement, the amount and terms of payment, and a description of the services your brokerage will provide. In addition, if an agreement will be in effect for more than 6 months, the buyer or seller must specifically acknowledge that fact in the agreement. Now let's talk about multiple representation. Being in a representation agreement with a client creates the possibility of multiple representation, which can occur if your brokerage is representing both the buyer and the seller or multiple buyers in a single transaction. Your brokerage should have procedures in place to recognize at the earliest opportunity whether you are representing multiple buyer clients. In hot housing markets where bidding wars are common, this is an important consideration because multiple representation imposes various obligations on the brokerage. Your brokerage cannot represent more than one client in the same trade unless all of those clients consent in writing. The written consent is required even if various clients are being represented by different salespersons or brokers within the brokerage. In a multiple representation situation, the brokerage will have a fiduciary relationship with more than one party to a trade. As a result, you must clarify to each party how information will be exchanged in relation to the transaction and how the services your brokerage will provide will be different from a single representation scenario. If your brokerage is representing multiple buyers, the multiple representation situation may not be recognized until after 2 or more buyers have expressed interest in the same property. In this scenario, your brokerage must obtain written consent as soon as it becomes aware that it's operating in a multiple representation situation. If one or more clients do not consent to multiple representation, then you must take action to release clients so that you are either in a single representation situation or all the remaining clients you are representing have consented to multiple representation. The released clients, be they buyers or sellers, are free to seek alternative representation, and you may wish to assist them in that regard by referring them to another brokerage. I encourage you to learn more about representation by reading the Registrar's Bulletin on RECO's website. You can find it in the Industry Professional section of the website under Registration. Thank you for watching.